everyone. I'm about to introduce to you author SUANNE SCHAFER, and we're going to be talking about this book right here, A Different Kind of Fire. And this book just came out this month, and I absolutely loved it. I am so happy that she said yes to talk to me because I got done with it and I was like, I have to talk to her. I have to talk to her. I read these books and they like change me. Is anybody else like that? Like, tell me below. Tell me I'm not the only crazy reading person that I get done with a book and I'm like, I have just changed who I am due to this book. Main character Ruby, absolutely fell in love with her. It's good from the first chapter to the last chapter. You will not be disappointed. Please go get this book. But first, let's talk to SUANNE about how she did it, how she made us love Ruby. So everybody, here is SUANNE. Hi everyone, I am so excited today because I'm speaking with author SUANNE SCHAFER, and we are talking about her brand new book, just came out this month, and it's called A Different Kind of Fire, and she has a picture of it right there. She's going to hold it up because this cover is amazing. I love it because Ruby is a painter, the main character, and then you've got the paints and so tell me about it because you said you designed it, so tell us.
Yes, I had actually negotiated in my contract some sort of input on the cover. And so I had come up with a couple that were sort of typical women's fiction, lady on the front without a head so no one can identify her. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll do a graphic one that just doesn't look like, women's fiction or romance. And because this one really is women's fiction, not really a romance. And so they ended up just taking this one, and I was quite surprised.
Oh, because it's beautiful. That's why. And let me
You.
tell you, don't discount that romance. SUANNE, I haven't read a romance book like this. I mean, I'm not one of those people that likes to read sex scenes just for the sake of throwing them into a book. I don't like
Mhm.
that. I'm not an erotica reader. I'm not like anything like that. But your love scenes, I was like, wow, it was so good. And the romance and, you know, I say yes, it is a romance book. I definitely
I tried to
classified it as that.
do, yeah, I
Yes.
tried to do the sex scenes sensual. First of all, they had to make sense of the plot,
Right.
and I tried to do them with more sensuality than insert cabaret into slot B sort of stuff.
Yes.
And so
I
I
like
keep hearing from
that.
people they like them, so I guess I did okay.
I like that you said that. That's really cool. I like that. But
And I have never considered this a romance.
but it
But
is.
people keep saying it is a
It
romance.
really is. I mean, okay, let's just start. Okay, so we talked about the cover, the title. So many meanings. Like this title is so crazy good because there's just so many meanings to it for me.
Right.
And for you to pick it out, I mean, I love I love a good title. I love when it has like multiple, like as you're reading it and you're like, oh yeah, like it's just,
Well, that's why she named this book that. And then, 80 pages later, oh, here's another reason she named this book that.
yes, yes, it's like the gift that keeps on giving with the book, right? And you start the book out just so everybody understands, a little bit about this book. You started out in 18. My note. When you were talking about looking, my notes. The sun is hitting it, and I'm like, I can't see my notes. You start the book out in 1891. Okay.
Yeah.
I was not even like, I love historical fiction. And I also consider this historical fiction too.
Yeah.
I didn't look to see if Amazon does, but I do because you gave us so much history in this book. And I wasn't even aware of like the depression that happened. It's like the depression before the depression, right?
Exactly. The
Yeah.
Panic of 1893. It was a big deal.
You know what? And then I looked it up because I was like, why didn't I ever read a book about this? It was a huge deal.
Yes. And it's probably the only financial crisis that started in the heartland and spread to the big cities.
Mm.
Usually it's the big cities start failing and it trickles into the heartland. And so, but because ranchers and stuff were failing, their banks failed, and then the banks above them failed, and the banks further east failed, and then it was just a major crisis.
Yeah. And okay, so our main character, Ruby, who
Mhm.
I did a little intro before we talked, and I was like, she's almost my favorite main character right now. Like, I didn't want to let her go. I loved her so much. I
Well, a little secret. This is based on my grandmother's life.
Oh, I
So
like that.
someone who read it said it read like a Romana Clef, one of those books where you know who they're talking about, but the names have been changed.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Sort of what it was.
sort of what it was, yeah. So
Well,
I had the outline of my grandmother's life, and I had some poetic license here and there. Um, because I lived in Philadelphia, I could write about Philadelphia, and I didn't have to go to Chicago to the Chicago Art Institute. So I made that little switch.
mm-hmm.
And my real grandfather was a Spaniard, not Italian. So there were some changes. And I'm not sure my grandmother was bisexual, but I found a line in some of her writings that said she shared a room with a girl at the Art Institute. So I thought, well, I can fly with that.
I can work with that. I mean, I love that when I'm reading a book and I'm learning, not only did I learn that history, okay, the history of the time period, but also so much about what women went through at the end of
Mhm.
the century, at the end of, the 19th century, and also about like art. You wove so, you're you're I was like, okay, try to tell Suanne how much you love this book without saying it 1,000 times. So I'm gonna try to tell it in different ways so that like, I mean, it read like poetry. I didn't want to stop reading it because I loved your writing so much.
Well,
Because
thank you.
it was just incredible, and I learned so much about the art world and during that time, and of course like what women were going through, what the country was going through, what what your especially like what your parents were expecting of you, and
Mhm.
like all that. I really put me back there, and for me it would be my great grandparents would be in that era, and I was trying to like think about, I was like, wow, I didn't really think about like what they went through, because you always think about your grandparents, but your great grandparents when it's the turn of the century, right before the turn of the century, and things were just so different, so
Yeah.
different, you know?
And what I really liked about that time period was it was first wave feminism.
Yeah.
And so you had the suffragettes
Yep.
getting out. And something that almost no one knows is that Victoria Woodhull in 1892, or yeah, 1892 was the first woman to run for president of the United States, not Hillary Clinton. Can you imagine the strength of character it took to do that in
No.
the 1890s?
No. And I can't imagine being one of those women that thought differently like Ruby. It's like because they were so raised in a mold, especially in Texas. Like this is what you're going to do. You're
Mm-hmm.
born, you're raised to be a certain way. This is how you're going, this is the plan for your life, and to go against that. It's
Yeah,
like, and there were women that went against it. I mean, this is not that fictional because of course we know that there were women out there that actually, and if your grandmother went to the art institute right then, that she must have been some kind of rebel, right?
right. My grandmother was quite a unique character. She actually, this book is set probably 30 years, 18. She went in 1910 to the Art Institute, so it's set a good 20 some odd years before that. Another because I really decided I wanted the book to be in the Gilded Era where there was so much money. The rich were really rich, and the poor were getting poor. Very
Right.
contemporary as
Right.
far as that goes. But I wanted her to have the experiences of, oh, I know what a suffragette is now.
Right.
And having to make the decision, does she want to join that or not? And then seeing bohemian life between all the artists. Is she gonna that staunch German background going to hold her back, or is she going to jump into the bohemian world? So she had a lot of choices to make, and not all of her choices were good choices, but well, she went ahead and did it. So
Yeah, and of course we know like she's a bisexual character, right? But I wouldn't like that wasn't everything about her, like it wasn't, you didn't use it as like just for the sake of like
right.
what I loved about her is that I fell in love with her. Okay, I didn't care what she was or who she fell in love with, because you took us through her journey of her heart. And I was rooting for her. I was rooting for her, and my brain is not that. Molly, or was Molly the other one that went?
Willow.
Willow. Okay, sorry. I told you my brain is on like half speed at the moment. But I mean, I was rooting for them. I was rooting for her. I was rooting for her heart, and that's hard to do as a writer, to get us to care about what she wanted and only care about that.
Right.
Whether, who cares, right, wrong, who cares? Like, it didn't matter. You know what I mean?
Well, I had started to write this as a traditional romance between Bismarck and Ruby. And I realized that she was back east being exposed to all this new stuff, and Bismarck was on the ranch doing the same thing day after day after day.
Yeah.
And so it ended up being, I felt like it needed to be her story.
Yeah.
And so I switched to this really deep third person point of view where the reader
Yeah.
has a chance to be in her brain
Yes.
all the way through 400 pages. So
Yeah.
that's a challenge, not stepping out of her point of view.
Right. I can't even imagine. And I'm going to read to everybody, because I always love how you as writers write that last part of the first chapter. Okay. To me, that's always such an important, I know I love a good beginning. Okay. I'm not going to say that, but this part, and you did it so well that I'm going to read it for everybody.
Oh, well, thank you.
You say, nearly undone, she kissed him hard and long. Moments later, her voice dreamy, she said, I love you. I'll come back. I promise. And when I do, I'll be a famous artist. And when I went back and reread that after I had gotten done with the book, I was like, wow, that was just so good, because right there, we're on her journey, because that was her intention. It really was. I do think that that Ruby wanted to just go do this, come back, be a famous art, like she had to do that. She had to go out and do her dream, but that she wanted to come back to
Mhm.
Bismarck, and so I just had to tell you how much I love that part.
Well, thank you.
So this is like, I'm reading this and I'm like, how many books have you written?
This is it.
I couldn't find another one, and I'm like, no, she had to have written another book. Like, this can't be her first debut novel. This is
This book, I've been in a bunch of anthologies and stuff.
But this
Um,
is your first not fiction novel.
First novel, yes.
That is incredible. Incredible. I would stand up and give you a standing ovation if I could.
Thank you. I actually wrote this. I was getting ready to retire as a doctor, and I wanted something to do in my spare time. And so I decided I wanted to write, and I went through the Stanford University Creative Writing Program online. And so this was the book I started there. And so they sort of coached me through it. And then after 9 classes there, I had this book that was finished, but not perfect. So I spent another year revising it and another year getting about 60 or 70 rejections because
Wow.
agents would say, I love the book, but with a bisexual character, I can't sell it. Rewrite it as a standard romance. It's like, that's not what I want to do.
No
And
way.
it was like too straight for the gay presses, too gay for the straight presses. And so it really is sort of genre breaking and very different. And no one thought they could sell it, but everyone loved the book. So it finally won a literary contest that had a publishing package attached, and so I said I'm sold, and went ahead to put it out.
I'm so glad you didn't give up. I'm so happy that you didn't, because
No.
you are an amazing writer. What would you tell somebody who was, I mean, with your, how you went about doing this? Do you have any advice for someone who wanted to just write, to, I don't know, what would you be your best advice to somebody that wanted to do that?
Well, I have been mentoring, excuse me, mentoring several people, and one of them is in Israel, and she's saying I can't find an agent, and she's got a beautiful little book, and I just because I've edited it like 3 times now, and so um, I said just keep going. It took me 67 rejections before I found a publisher. So and some people I know have had 100. So the thing is, if you've written your book, keep querying, keep getting it out there. Don't feel like you're nobody loves you. Easy to fall into that trap. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates my book. But if you find the right eyes, someone will like it. I mean, I was turned down by an agent because they didn't like the voice, didn't like Ruby's voice. And
Mm.
she's a very matter of fact woman. I mean, she's dreamy in her head, but on her day to day stuff, she gets her job done. And when she comes back to Texas and she's a ranch wife, she has tons of work to do and she goes through it day to day, very matter of factly. And of course, a matter of fact voice is not a romantic voice.
Mm.
There's,
Well,
not a lot of gushy stuff in there. She rarely cries. She just gets up and does her business, even though she's pretty inside. And so
well,
it was.
I disagree. I disagree so much. And I read a lot of books, okay? A lot. And I get so happy when I find one that is this like gem that almost like nobody else has really, like I haven't seen it very many places, and then I start digging deeper and then I start finding, and that's how your book, I was like, "Oh no, there are people that know about this book." And then I read it and I'm like, I just want to tell everybody. It's like I just want to shout it out, like, go get this book. You are not going to believe how good this book is. And so it makes me so happy that I got to read it and that
No,
I got to read your writing. And, of course, I'm talking to you the whole time I'm reading it. I'm like, oh my God, Suanne, that was so good. That was just so good. And, but before I let you go, what are you working on next? Because I can't wait.
okay, I have a book coming out in on September 15th of 19, and it's the story of a biracial American physician who gets caught up in the Rwandan genocide.
Ooh,
And it's a 118,000 words. It's a long book.
wow.
It's her struggle to deal with what happened to her during the genocide and coming to terms with it. And she essentially becomes a vigilante trying to track down the man who killed her children.
Wow.
And
Okay,
so,
well, promise me that I get to interview you for that book.
okay, I
Okay.
will.
I will read it early. We'll get it out there. And, because nowadays it's not even just about when the book comes out, it's that early buzz that helps everybody with the pre orders and everything like that. So,
Yeah.
we'll talk about it early, but show everybody the cover again. Guys, I'm
Oh,
going to put down the links below so that you can go buy it. It's out there. It's already there. Came out this month. I am so happy for you, Suanne. I can't wait to see what this book does for you. And I'm so happy that, I got to meet you.
well, thank you so much. It's
Yeah.
also an audiobook.
Oh,
If
and
you,
yeah, I know. I also listened to it. I went back and forth. And the
oh,
audio is amazing, guys. Go get the audio. I did back and forth because I've had a weird week and I've had to do that. But I love the audio. It was beautiful. So yeah, go get. If you don't have time to read it, go get the audio. You're gonna love it. The woman did an amazing job. So thank you so much. And I want to talk to you again. So
all right.
we won't.
Wonderful.
All right. You have a great day. Thank
You
you.
too. Bye.
Isn't that crazy? Oh my God, she's so amazing. I thought it was her debut novel. I am still stunned though, okay? That's how good it was. Like, there's no way that you believe that this is her debut novel. And my hair, look at my hair, is still going crazy. But anyway, oh my God, and she is so cool. I love her. I cannot recommend it more highly than what I'm saying right now. Okay. I know it's a bisexual main character. So what? Who cares? She did it beautifully. Okay. You will not care. You will love Ruby. So everyone, thank you for watching. Have an amazing day.